Okay, so today we're going to talk about, let's say, Boolean modeling, and this is the first part. We're going to talk about it in Cinema 4D, and the example we're going to be using throughout this is a simple coffee cup. So this is traditional Boolean modeling in Cinema 4D, and you basically, what you do is you take the two cylinder, to do this, I took two cylinders, made this one a little smaller, and I applied the bool operator to it. The bool can be found, whoop, I don't want a subdivision surface. All right, so gotta be very exact here. Right here. So that is the traditional way of doing it. Now, the handle I made by taking a spline and doing a sweep. So, but now we're going to, the one I want to focus on is the newer volume mesher and volume builder. Now, I'm going to turn the remesh off for now and show you, you see. And the handle, of course, is done in a similar way. But what happens in this case is by putting them on the volume builder, these become voxels, a volume, which is made up of voxels that let you, which are like little boxes. So it's not a mesh. The volume builder is where you set it up. The volume mesher turns it into a mesh. And on any of these, of course, you can always control the number of segments. You can control different things, in that regard, the sweep, for the handle. You put them all under the volume builder. And in the volume builder, which I am going to click on, there we go. You have, you can do here your the sweep is a union, and the cylinder subtracts from what's below it. So the sweep unions with the cylinder one minus subtracted from cylinder, and you can adjust how big you want your voxels, and that determines how small the mesh is, determines the mesh, and so on, the, what we call it, the resolution that you'll see. Because when you first do it, it is, very low resolution, and then you make it higher. The volume mesher, again, you can control how big or how small you want things. So you can see if we make it smaller, it doesn't look so good. I put it up to about 68. And you can, and if you look at it, Control I will give you the number of, so you have 11,000 kilobytes of memory. So it's a pretty big thing. Now you can, of course, reduce that by, changing things in the settings for your volume mesher, so it's not quite, like you can, let's say, make it a lot lower resolution here. And now you've only got 9,000. Oh, it hasn't done too much. And let's see. I want to see if we make it really. Let's see. We could probably do things in the volume builder too. What? Why? Oh. And is there any control? You can control the voxel size here. So you can make this small, the voxel, so cancel, we want to cancel that. But let's go back to, let's make this 2. There we go. That looks, and go back to the volume measure, control I, and it's way down, but it doesn't look so good. But we can try turning the remesh on. Well, and let's see. It still doesn't look great. So, you know, you see the handles pulling away and so on. So you may want to increase the range in this case. I don't know if that's gonna, yeah, that makes it look a little bit, not too bad. Control I. And again, so you can play around. If you want to see the render to picture viewer, we can take a look at that. And then I'm going to show you how, whoop, that doesn't look too terrible. You probably, yeah, see, still a little, yeah, you probably want to make it a bit higher resolution. But these are, for the most part, decent looking. But anyway, let me show you. Let me, first of all, I'm going to turn this this one off so I'm not killing the machine. Again, you can adjust things here with subdivisions and the things with the cylinders and so on, how many divisions they have. Of course, when you want a model, then you have to make it editable. I mean, sorry, if you want to sculpt, you have to make it editable. Actually, if you want to start playing with it with more polygon modeling, but let's turn, so no, I don't want to change that. So let's create a new one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a cylinder here, get it to our desired size, which is probably spreading it out, maybe making it a little shorter, something like that, and maybe change these to 32. Let's see how that looks. And now we're going to duplicate that. And him, we're going to make, first of all, we're going to move it up just a little bit. And then we're going to make it, let's turn this way so we can see. And we're going to make him a little smaller. And now we can add our volume builder and stick these under that. And obviously you want to move this up. Let's see, voxel size, we're going to bring that down. I think, let's bring it down to 2. Maybe even 1. And not great, but we'll fix that later. The other thing we have to do here is, here we go. Cylinder 1 is going to subtract. And now, as you can see, we have a cup. But of course, we don't have a handle yet. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go into this. I think it's F4, which is front. We need the volume measure before we can do that, because we can't see the coffee cup. We need a volume measure. And get rid of that volume builder. And let's put this one here. And there we go. I can get rid of that. And we got our volume. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the spline pen, and we're going to try to make something. Where's my spline pen? Right here. Okay, it's important that you go into points mode, and then you should be able to move these points like this that we want. We want it in. And now what we're going to do is do a sweep. Right here, we need that, and we need a little circle, and so that would be up here. Now, of course, the circle is going to be huge, so we're going to make that small. Maybe 10. See what it looks like in 10 centimeters. 8. Let's try 8. 8 looks good. And we're going to stick that under the sweep. We're going to stick the spline under the sweep. And we need to reverse the order. We have to change the, there we go. So now we can go back to F1, and we got our coffee cup now. I'd probably want to adjust the spline a little bit, and probably want to make the circle maybe 12. Let's see what 12 looks like. For the circle. Oh, that's intermediate points. I was looking in the wrong spot. There we go. I think that, aside from having to justify now, before you do anything else, what we probably want to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put this under the volume builder as well. And the sweep, when we go to the volume builder, is going to be a union, which by default it is. Now again, at this point we can still go to the spline, and let's turn off the circle and the sweep, and you can maybe adjust this point here. Maybe make it look a little bit, there we go. Oh, what happened to our, there we go. And with the volume measure, we may want to, let's see if, look to be, probably want to maybe well, we don't want to make it much smaller, but let's see what it looks like. And did a picture viewer, and we're probably going to want to do some smoothing here. Now what we can do again is the I don't know if it's in this one. Let's get rid of that. We don't want that. likely. Remesh. And you can stick this under a remesh. And go up here. And we can take advantage. Let's make the density 60. And mesh density. And you can see it processed. And if we go to you can see the mesh, and it's not perfect, but let's see what it looks like again in render to picture viewer. Now this is just obviously one issue you may want to look at is if you want to texture it or do a UV unwrap, then that could have effect. See, this is probably not quite as much resolution as we'd like, but let's see how big this thing is. Control I, and bigger than, it's very big actually. So we maybe want to, I think we cut it down to like 15% in the other example. If it's going to let me. Oh. Yeah, we probably want to cut this down to, let's see what happens if we cut it to 25. Yeah, it's still. So, anyway, that is how you would do this. Now, one thing you can do here is you can hit C, and I think it's still thinking. But what you'd be able to do is, let's go back, see if we can go back to this one. So what you would be able to do is hit C and then model it. Okay, so we have a selection of brushes here, limited selection you would have in any sculpting situation. And you can sculpt on this. Now let's write. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And now one reason you would want to use the Wacom, actually, I'm just going to switch to it real quick here without moving it where I normally would. So this has different pen pressures. So I can write, oh, that's not coming out. Oh, we can, and you can do your sculpting. I'm not doing a great job here. But what you can see is when you go into back to standard, you got your little sculpt, and when you go render to picture viewer, you can barely see it. The other thing you can adjust with these brushes is the intensity. So this is how you create the cup using the volume mesh method, where you do the volume builder and the volume mesher. If you want to sculpt, you make it into an editable object, and you can also remesh as we did, and you have a a fairly good coffee cup. This isn't bad at all. You want to control the size of how big the mesh is, and this is relatively small. So this is doing it in C4d. Again, you can use the traditional Boolean method. You can use this. Um, I didn't see any huge pros and cons, although the nice thing is you can save this as voxels and move them to other systems, and it's very flexible in terms of you have different number of places you can adjust things. So next time, the next video I'm going to make is on doing a similar thing, but in Zbrush. Now, Zbrush is designed to do this. I mean, that is it is a sculpting and modeling tool. So I did not run into any kind of weirdness in some of the things I ran into here with it getting really unhappy if I had too many points, which is something you have to be careful of when you're working in something like Zbrush, because it'll make it can make a very dense mesh, and then when you try to use it elsewhere, you got a problem because the other program just can't handle it. Example is we saw the mesh more, for example, and it works great in Unreal Engine and handles it no problem. Try to bring it into Marvelous Designer to make clothes. It would not bring that when I export it and try to bring it in, too heavy a model. So I think I have a solution to that, and that's something I'm looking at. But at any rate, thank you, and again, stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, and so that you can get notes when I put up further videos, including the next part of this, where we're going to do this similar thing in ZBrush, and you'll see the differences. And obviously ZBrush is designed, again, for this task explicitly. But remember, they're both now owned by Maxon, so I suspect Cinema 4D is going to be taking advantage of that fact. So again, thank you and take care.